Hello, I'm the FanFic Critic. I read it, you listen. Today's fanfic is a first. I've read fanfics about video games, about movies, about books. I have never read a fanfic, though, that's about a mascot for rum. That's right. Today's fanfic is about Captain Morgan, who is the mascot for Captain Morgan's rum. Okay then, let's read it. It's called Raise Your Boot and Toast by Moked Delmar. It's rated Fiction T. It's in English. It's adventure. It's 1,715 words. It's not complete. It might be complete. It might have been a deal that they didn't post it as complete. Either way, it was published back like almost 2 years ago at this point, back in 2011 in July. So it's at this point I would say it's abandoned, or the person just forgot to put down complete. So let's read this. Raise Your Boot and Toast by Ted Wall. Don't post your real name on fanfiction.net, please and thank you. I'm not sure how you would qualify this story. I suppose it would count as a fan fiction, but it is based off of some Captain Morgan commercials. Anyway, the character of Captain Morgan belongs to the Captain Morgan Spiced Rum Company. I guess that was supposed to be the summary of the author's note. They didn't really keep it separate from the actual story. So let's read the actual story. Captain always knows how to get the party started, said Tweak as he surveyed the shambles of the captain's quarters. Tweak Picardy was a tall, thin, black man originally from Bermuda. He was muscularly built and had a shaved head. At the moment he was naked to the waist, for the Caribbean heat was oppressive, but he still wore his long red and black pants, which were baggy and cool. Captain Morgan himself was sprawled in the elaborately carved bed he had procured from a merchantman and supplant to his cabin. He was completely naked, and the reason for this was abundantly clear, for Morgan was sharing the bed with 5 young, beautiful, and equally naked women. Tweak sighed and shook his head. He had been the deck master for Captain Morgan for many years, but he was still surprised sometimes by the captain's exploits. "Captain?" Tweak asked gently, but receiving nothing but a grunt in response. Tweak hauled of, don't you mean off, and kicked the bed, causing Morgan to roll over and groan. The captain opened one eye ever so slightly and then clenched it shut again with another groan. "Bright. Too bright," he muttered, his voice groggy. "Captain, me first mate Miller told me to tell you that we gotta..." Come on, phone's ringing. Ugh. Sorry about that interruption. That was just Susan letting me know that she was on her way home. Yeah, she decided to just have a day to herself, so she's on her way home. So yeah. And you guys are probably wondering where she went, seeing she doesn't have a car. Well, she walks somewhere, so it's not a big deal. She was actually hanging out with Archangel Assassin today. Pretty cool. I'm glad that they're getting along. Alright then, where was I before I got interrupted by the telephone? Okay, Captain, First Mate, here we go. "Captain, First Mate Miller told me to tell you that we got a sail at 9 o'clock and we're gaining. Merchant ship looks like Marissa is perfectly capable of handling something as simple as taking over a merchant ship. She used to be a captain herself, you know. I trust her judgment completely," Morgan said, closing his eyes again and rolling over so his back was to Tweak. "Miller said it looked like a rum runner, sir." Tweak continued with a smirk. Morgan's eyes popped open at these words, and he sat up to look at Tweak, though he didn't seem at 100% yet. Tweak had seen Morgan hung over before, but it was still a frightening sight. The captain's eyes were red and puffy, and his long wavy hair was snarled tangle of raven locks, and his usually trim goatee showing half a day more than a 5 o'clock shadow. Levering himself unsteadily to his feet, Morgan swayed on the spot, squinting his eyes against the light which bombarded his muddled brain. What's the matter of colors are they flying? If it's the French, we might have to get a little nautical. They're running more and more heavily armed these days. I think we should, Morgan said, taking 2 uncertain steps towards Tweak before catching sight of himself in the full-length mirror he kept in his cabin. For a long moment, Morgan paused, eyeing his naked reflection as if trying to figure out what was wrong before finally turning back to Tweak and saying, Perhaps I ought to throw some pants on or something if we're going to be addressing a crowd, eh? That might be a good idea, Captain. Tweak responded with a chuckle. Several minutes later found Captain Morgan emerging slowly from his cabin. He hadn't bothered with his full toilet, so he wears a toilet. He was now wearing a worn, crushed red velvet jacket, a stained white shirt unlaced, exposing his chest, a pair of faded gray trousers, and a pair of knee-high leather boots. He had also strapped on a bandolier holding 4 pistols and a belt that held his cutlass. He ascended the stairs to the bridge, leaning heavily on the rail. He was holding a large flagon of a dark brown liquid, and he gestured with this to the diminutive Spaniard at the helm. Mr. Quivo, this coffee tastes like shit. Is there any reason for that? Morgan asked flatly. That would be because it's not coffee sore, it's pig swill. Cookie said use the coffee pot to keep it warm. Morgan blinked, then considered his cup you mean, for a long second before taking another swing. Nothing but the best on my ship, eh? Hello, Marissa, love. How are you today? The first mate turned to face her captain with a wry smile. She was wearing a black satin bustier with gold trim that showed off her well-rounded breasts, form-fitting trousers, and high-heeled knee-high boots. Her blonde hair looked freshly tousled from the wind, and her brilliant blue eyes sparkled from behind her dark eyeliner. Better than you, apparently, she said teasingly. What the hell happened last night? The last I saw of you was when you and half the tavern went for a little midnight party cruise in the jolly boats. Let's say I had encountered some very enthusiastic young ladies that couldn't wait to get a little captain in them, Morgan said with a smirk. So then, what do we have? Rum runner, sir. French by the looks of it. Marissa responded with a glance towards the sail that was drawing ever closer and fluttering red, white, and blue French flag visible in flashes. Well then, let's say bonjour, Morgan said with a smirk. As they approached, the French tried to escape sailing at random angles. Okay, this person's grammar needs to be a little bit better, especially with the punctuation. Should say as they approached, comma. The French tried to escape by sailing at random angles, tacking back and forth frantically to try to shake the pirates off. When they were 200 yards off, the pirates began to be bombarded. As the French tacked back in front of the pirates' bow, they broadsided the chasing pirate ship. Cannonballs slashed down on either side of the fast-approaching Silver Bullet, and a stray cannonball whizzed past the bridge, narrowly missing Captain Morgan's head. Mr. Bacardi, would you mind running up the white flag? These French buggers are making this harder than it needs to be, Morgan said nonchalantly, taking another swing of the swill in his mug. The white flag was raised, and the bombardment stopped. Soon the French ship dropped canvas and slowed, allowing the pirates to catch up. As they pulled level with the French, Morgan could see the Villard Nord scrawled in gold along the flying bridge. Leaving the bridge, Morgan strode down the deck and took up position on the rail. Bonjour, je suis Captain Morgan. Je veux te parler. Oh, hell. I so do not have the energy for this. Look, do any of you speak English? Parlez-vous d'anglais? That was probably the worst French I've ever done, but then again, I don't speak French. There was a long pause and some muttering in French before a figure appeared at the rail of the French ship. The man had long hair which fell in ringlets to his shoulders, and a well-trimmed mustache with curled up at the ends. He was wearing a large, elaborate hat with a long feather in it, a white shirt, and black trousers. "I am Jacques de Shiraz, and I speak for Captain Marat," he announced in a ringing voice, sweeping off his hat in a bow. "What is it that you have to say?" "I," Captain Morgan said, spreading his arms wide, "am hungover." Jacques translated, and there was a smattering of laughter on the French ship before Morgan continued. "And as we well know, nothing helps a hangover like more booze. Now see, I have it on good authority that you are currently running rum back to Mother France. Now, my question is, do you think that King Louis would begrudge a thirsty man a barrel or two of rum? Particularly when you have the manifest saying how many there are, savvy?" Jacques turned and discussed this for a moment with someone Morgan couldn't see. The mystery of who this was, however, was soon solved as a second man joined Jacques at the railing. Judging from the elaborateness of the man's coat and hat, there no doubt in Morgan's mind was that this was Captain Merlot. "So then, I am a bit of a thought here. You bring..." Oh, wait, never mind. This is supposed to be Morgan speaking. "So then, I'm in a bit of a thought here. You bring a couple of barrels of rum. I bring some saucy wenches. I know I have at least 5 on board who'd probably love a French tickler. We'll play some music, start a fire, and get as drunk as Irishmen." "Hey!" came an Irish broke from behind him. Captain Morgan turned and raised a questioning eyebrow. "Sorry, Jason. No offense, mate. Still, you do wrestle a giant octopus for a barrel of whiskey once," Morgan said before turning back to the French. Jacques began to translate, but the captain cut him off. "And if we refuse?" Merlot asked promptly. Morgan gave another captain smirk and shrugged. "Well, then we blast the bejesus out of you with our cannons and take what we want anyway. Now, we could go back and forth about this all day, but let's hit the highlights for you. Option 1, you end up having loads of sloppy drunk sex with some beach. Option 2, you end up in the middle of a pitched naval base with a bunch of bloodthirsty sober pirates. But I'll let you decide, shall I?" Captain Merlot stroked his beard thoughtfully. Several hours later, found the crews of both ships passed out in various states of undress. As it turned out, Morgan's estimate of 5 eager women was an understatement of epic proportions, the result of which was a good time for everyone. Morgan sauntered down the beach towards the tree line. He had a bit more swagger in his step now. He took a long drag out of the bottle he had been carrying and heaved a big sigh. He turned at the sound of a cough behind him and turned to see Marissa sitting on the barrel of rum. "Your powers of persuasion never cease to amaze me," she said, standing and crossing her arms over her chest. Morgan strode over and propping one foot on the barrel, he took another long drag on the bottle. Straightening himself, Morgan rested one arm on his knee and then the other draped around Marissa's shoulders. "That's because I'm the captain, love." Well, that wasn't too bad. It was pretty creative. Make a story out of those commercials, I have to say. That was a pretty good idea. You know what? Maybe this person should consider doing like a series of stories about Captain Morgan. Just for fun. I mean, it had its issues, missing punctuations and stuff for the most part, but aside from that, it wasn't that bad of a story. And I do apologize for the very horrid voice acting I did for it. Well, in the FanFic Critic. I read it, you listen, and I'm fading out to black.